There's the scene looking down the famous Flemington Straight to the starting point for the first event on Melbourne Cup Day 1994, the Simpson Cup Hurdle. Over 13 hurdles, number 12, the King's Crown, the scratching, a field of 12. Here's
You like here?
I like number 9, Sebagivi, be very hard to beat. From the John Wheeler trade, number 10, superbly. And I thought Wobber, he's only had the 2 runs over hurdles and he's won them both. It's a great sight up here, this crowd. It's incredible today. And they run down the straight, you've got 5 fences, and they remove 1, and I've got 2 to jump the last time round. They're a wonderful sight.
Now just Zenithal to join the line from the Jim Houlihan stable. Jim, a master trainer of jumping horses. And Zenithal coming into the stalls. There's all set to go for the first event on Melbourne Cup Day, the Simpson Cup Hurdle. Gates crashed back and they're off and racing over the 2-mile journey. Sibagagi was away well from over near the inside. Salieri Sun and Skyfighter are also prominent with superbly wide out as they jump the first of 13. Wobber getting back in the field. They're all over it safely. Wide out was Tel Disco, but he's forward enough to be in about 6th placing as they jump the second obstacle. Salarino was buried back on the inside, and Maloki and O'Lord are drifting back towards the tail of the field. They run onto the course proper now. They still have more than a lap left to run. About 2,800 metres to travel, and Sibagagi, the pilot, he's also the favourite. Leads from superbly, and Tel Disco out 3 wide as they jump the third, and then Skyfighter. Followed by Zenithal around the outside of Salieri's Sun, and then came Regal Title. O'Lord wide, Salarino back on the inside of Wobber as they come to the next hurdle. All wearing the hat, almost went down. He crashed through it. Ryder lost the reins for a moment or so. He regained his composure. He's back second last. And Maloki last of all at the next hurdle. And there's a crash. There's one down. Coming down heavily was Skyfighter as they jumped the one in front of the winning place, but a harmless tumble. And both horse and rider back on their feet. Skyfighter out of the race. They go out of the straight, 2,100 metres to go. And Sibagagi in control, 3/4 of a length to O'Lord. He's the horse that's been able to make a move around the field and go to second. 3 lengths away, Tel Disco, 3.5 to Zenithal, followed by Superbly, it's racing 5th. Then Salieri's Sun, followed by Regal Title on its outside. Wobber and Stellarino together, 2 lengths to Wearing the Hat, and 2 lengths away, Maloki last of all. Sibagagi, the leader, as they go to the jump at the 1,600 metre point. Leads about 2.5 lengths to O'Lord. 3 lengths away, Tel Disco racing third. Zenithal was 4th. Then came Superbly, 1 to Salieri's Sun, Regal Title under the whip and improving, and then Stellarino followed by Wobber, Wearing the Hat, and Maloki. Well, Sibagagi in front, he's getting further away. He leads about 5 lengths to O'Lord, 5 lengths away Tel Disco third, 1 length to Salieri's Sun fourth. A few of these horses off the bit back in the field. Then Superbly 5th on the inside of Zenithal. Gee, the speed has really been clapped on. Stellarino got into a bit of bother there. Wobber starting to improve its position, and then came Wearing the Hat and tailed off last of all Maloki. And there's another one that's crashed. Wearing the Hat's come down along the back of the track. He wasn't jumping well as they run up towards the 1,000. Sibagagi, geez, travelling well. He led by 4 or 5 lengths. He's a very good jumper. He just skips over them as if they're not there. Sibagagi, 5 lengths to O'Lord, a length away Tel Disco. Salieri's Sun is plodding on, but they're failing to take ground off this leader Sibagagi for the moment. 4 lengths behind Salieri's Sun was Stellarino, and they were followed by Regal Title. Then came Wobber and Superbly as they run up to the home turn. 600 metres to go, and Sibagagi is travelling okay. He led 5 lengths. Tel Disco is the horse that's going to issue a challenge. O'Lord's only plodding, and then Salieri's Sun. Wobber's making up some ground, and then Stellarino into the straight 2 to get over, and Sibagagi, he's 5 in front. Look at him jump this. He just skips through it. He's 6 in front of Tel Disco. He's picking up a length off him each over 100 metres, and then came O'Lord, Stellarino. 1 to get over here, Sibagagi jumped it well. He's 3.5 to Tel Disco, the only possible chance, and they're 10 lengths clear of Stellarino to third. Sibagagi's walking. Tel Disco's coming home hard, but Sibagagi's going to hold him though. First favourites home on Cup Day. Sibagagi 2 lengths to Tel Disco. 12 away third, Stellarino, then Superbly O'Lord, Maloki and Salieri's Sun, Zenithal, Wobber. Regal Title never travelled well on the run. He was always under pressure. 2 casualties, and certainly Skyfighter and his jockey are okay. And the other one that went up the back was Wearing the Hat, a horse that also didn't seem comfortable today. He never travelled well and never jumped well, and he was a casualty along the back.
Well, Dan, I haven't seen a horse jump as well as what Sibagagi did for a long, long time. He was just skipping over these fences. It was interesting, the 2 fences in the straight. He just flew them. Went to the line very well. He set a great pace. he was causing other horses to make mistakes. Oh Lord was travelling well, but Hcp just had too much pressure on them.
They ran a track record, $2.70 and $1.50 for Vichealth, $2.50 Tel Disco, and third will be Stellarino. Horse number 7 will be third, and it'll return $6.80 for the place. So number 7 will be third, Stellarino.
Interesting to get a couple of shots of him skipping over these fences, because, well, I thought if he just happens to touch one, he'll go. He was just, you know, no margin error. He was just flying them.
Well, I made the point in the call, Gary, about look at this horse, the way he skips through them. He just treats them without contempt, as if they're not there.
That's right.
But he's a very promising horse, only having his third start over jumps. Robbie Spurden's stable. John Letts is on horseback. He's just about to catch up to Craig Hiddich, who is the winning rider. So let's talk to John and Craig.
Craig, your first ride on Vichealth, very impressed?
Very impressive horse. Make the grade for sure next year.
And you got the ride. How did you get the ride on him?
Jamie Evans was actually supposed to ride the horse, but he couldn't get a clearance in time.
Yeah, well, he was very impressive today. You know, you broke the track record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so congratulations on your Cup hurdle win, Craig.
There's a race there.
John Letts with Craig Hiddich. It is a new track record. They ran 3:28.6, so they've eclipsed the track record by 7/10 of a second. And Pete, I've got the funny feeling Robbie Spurden knew a while ago he had a horse that win this Cup hurdle.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Dan. Robbie, congratulations. He's a smart hurdler, that fellow.
Yeah, he's an excellent jumper. He's very brave. He just seems to extend his stride to skip over them. I was surprised that he ran a record, though, because he seemed to have a good hold of him all the way around, although I guess it explains why he was getting the stitch close to the line. He seemed to be losing his momentum, but when they run that sort of time, I guess you have to.
He's obviously a lovely free-going horse, just loves to bowl along.
Yeah, that's his natural inclination, and so he's up there out of trouble, and it suits him at that, just to bowl along in front with nothing in his way. He's a very good jumper.
You might have some ambitious plans for this horse, maybe even overseas.
We looked at there's a steeplechase in Italy run after the end of our season. We looked at it with Century Magic this year, but it was too late for the planning. But if this horse goes on to what we expect in the early part of the season, he'll be eased up after the early part of the jumping season and go on to that.
Good way to start Melbourne Cup Day. Robbie Spurden, congratulations.
Thank you.
Rob Spurden, the winning trainer in race 1. Numbers there 9, 6 and 7. Vichealth, the winner. Second, Tel Disco. Third, Stellarino. New track record 3:28.6. As the winner returns, we'll take a break and be back with all the information on the opening race on Cup Day after this.
You're watching Capital Television's exclusive coverage of the 1994 Melbourne Cup Carnival.
Right. Here is the time-honoured ritual that Mr. Lawler conducts for us, checking the weight of the jocks after the event. Now, I think you'll find he's pretty happy. There is correct weight from Pat Lawler now. Just reminding you again, just in case you're thinking of giving us a telephone call, the dividends we're about to give you are for Victoria only. They're Victorian totes. They are for $1. We have correct weight. So, Danny Malecki, pay us some money.
Okay, well, I won't personally, Tim, but I'm sure the TAB will be happy to on my behalf. Vichealth, $2.70 and $1.50 for the win. And I would envisage there are a lot of punters that would be collecting because that horse was the favourite. Tel Disco, $2.50. Stellarino, $6.80. The Quinella, $13.40. And the trifecta, $466.60. Margins were 1 3/4 lengths by 16 lengths. And the time was 3:28.6, and as we've already pointed out, it was a track record. And what an amazing horse to watch jump. Even, you know, he skipped through them like a skipping rope, like a human being would, Tim. It was amazing to watch him jump. And even when he got tired, very smart horse, because when he was tired, he jumped higher. So, very promising hurdler.
I tell you what, Danny, once they take that lad off the track, he'd make a very fine show jumper. I'm quite sure he handles them very well. Not quite ready for the presentations yet.
A heavy shower as they go to the stalls for race 2. They're moving up now, and let's see what's happened in the betting event on Melbourne Cup Day.
That's the favourite on the screen, Grand Bay. Only lightly raced, Gary, but he might be coming down the right side of the track, as you pointed out earlier on.
Yes, I would think so. And this light rain on this track, Dan, it'll be great for the racing because if the track had been very hard, well, it would have made a difference with this rain on it. But now it should suit any horse.
Most definitely. There's the tote update. Sword, as you can see, certainly well in commission, 660. Fence on Fire, 630. Grand Bay at $5.10, so he's the favourite. $2.10 for the place. Puckeridge, $10.90. My Flashing Star, $11.50. Has a very prominent shadow roll, so she'll be easy to pick up on the inside of the track. Golden Rule, $35. Kencher, $11.40. Represent given some hope at fairly long odds, $18.40. Ivan's Hero, $31.90, number 16. Blazing Livy, the outsider of the field, at $104.80. Now, one would well expect here that a greater portion of the field would come down the outside rail, and that is the part of the track that us race callers refer to as the grandstand side for obvious reasons. It's the side of the track the grandstand's on. And over on the inside from barriers 1 to the horses that will race down that part of the track, we call the flat side. So if people are listening at home, and perhaps that might be able to help you understand my terminology in the race call.
And you can also notice about 100 yards from the stalls there's a line across the track. That's about the half-mile crossing. You know you've got about half mile to go. I like Sword in the stand. I thought he looked very well. Actually, I've gone 2, 5 and 6, sure, 1 Grand Bay that you sort of like a little bit.
Yeah, I saw him when he first started at Ballarat, and he was most impressive. Reminded me of Poetic King that day.
Well, if he goes like he did this time last year, look out.
Well, of course, he is a stablemate of that horse. And they are just about set for a start.
There's one with his head over the side of the stalls. Back over now.
My Flashing Star has broken through the front of the gates. No harm done. Quickly under control from rider Danny Nikolic from barrier number 1. She'll just trot down and be picked up and escorted back by the clerk of the course.
Right by the 3,200 metre mark, where they start the Melbourne Cup.
I don't think My Flashing Star will ever be getting over the 3,200 metres, but she's a well-bred horse.
Yes.
Snippets out of Nan Cress.
There's Damien Oliver, just relaxing a little bit. Hasn't got his goggles down. You have to watch it on days like this. When you've got that light rain, your glasses are inclined to fog up a bit. You've just got to be very careful here.
Well, his plum ride, obviously, is Paris Lane in the Melbourne Cup, so let's have a look at the update in the big one. Vintage Crop, $11.40, and notice its price just come in a little bit. These conditions would suit him ideally at the moment. Jeune, $18.80, out Pompeii, $19, Paris Lane, $7.30. Quick Ransom at $8, that's horse number 8. $9.30 for Top Rating, Double Take, $78. $45 for Glastonbury, one of 2 greys in the race. Gossips, $16, $7.60 Alcove, Gold Sovereign, $72, Grass Valley, $33. And onto the final page, Starstruck, $33, Clevedon Gale, $9.60, Pindy, $67.30, Sweet Glory at $59.50. She's been placed at only 2 tries over 2 miles. One was in the Duke of Norfolk Stakes. And there's My Flashing Star, who just broke through the front of the stalls. Just pushed it open a little bit. Now she's been replaced back into her gate. And once again, they are ready to go. At the 1,000 metres, race 2, Vichealth Hcp. Right on, and they're off and racing. One of the first out, certainly Fence on Fire and Grand Bay, as they go straight to the outside. In fact, most of these horses go to the outside rail, and that gives you a fair indication that going out there is very good. Now, over on the flat side of the track, My Flashing Star bounded away and is going to lead up here from Marcel. Also, Golden Rule up there with El Casbar, followed by Alice Blue Gown, Scarlet Crown. Sword behind those as they run up towards the 600-metre point, Represent behind them. And they were followed by Graminius down the grandstand side. Grand Bay in front of Blazing Libby, and also Novajinsky, followed by Fence on Fire, Puckeridge behind them, and Kencher. Down to the 400-metre point, the outside in front. Grand Bay, the leader from Kencher under the whip. Running on fairly well was Fence on Fire, then Novajinsky, followed by Puckeridge. And over on the flat side, Golden Rule with the grandstand side in front, Grand Bay and Kencher. Kencher coming at Grand Bay, Kencher. Kencher going to Grand Bay, Kencher. Kencher's just beaten Grand Bay, Scarlet Crown third on the flat side. Then came Sword, followed by Fence on Fire, Alice Blue Gown, Represent. Back behind those horses, Graminius, and then Marcel, El Casbar, Golden Rule. My Flashing Star carved up. They were followed by Fence on Fire, Novajinsky. Those horses putting up pretty quickly. Fiesta, Frolic, Puckeridge, Ivan's Hero, and Blazing Libby.
Well, the outside was definitely quicker, Dan, and I really noticed as the horses came across onto the course proper how much they were actually digging up the ground. We might be able to have a look at that later on, where they link up with the course proper. It was, you know, really noticeable how much they were kicking up. So it must be a little bit softer than what you think.
56.9, and they're the approximates. Kensher $11.20 and $3.60. He's definitely won the race. Grand Bay second, $1.90. And Scarlet Crown over on the inside third, $5.70. You can tell those two horses are pretty good down the grandstand side because they streeted the others.
Just have a look at this here, Dan. See the ground, how they're kicking it up, those horses. That ground, it must be a bit soft there. So, you know, you people that like vintage crop and these horses from overseas that like that jar out of the ground, it'll play right in their hands.
The time was 56.9, but that's the time for the outside. They've run at least a second slower on the inside of the track. So we did point out to you, it was...
And that's right where we pointed it out, Dan. That strip there for about 3 or 4 horses. There's a great shot of Damien Oliver and Stephen King, two of our great young jockeys in Victoria. Stephen just getting the better of Damien here.
But I think those two horses are a little bit above average because they streeted the others.
Here's a great action shot. It's very interesting here. You see Damien on the inside of Stephen here. He's got the stick in the left hand because horses are inclined to lay in with you a little bit when you're on this outside. Great shot. Both these boys hard at work. Both horses trying their hardest. Great action shot. You're seeing it all on Channel 10.
Even in light rainy conditions. But the outside definitely faster. We did draw that conclusion perhaps earlier on, so we hope we led you into the right direction. But you even noticed the jockeys that were drawn about barriers 9 and 10 wanting to veer straight to the outside. Stephen King, it was a clever ride. Johnny Letts, he just tracked Damien Oliver everywhere he went on the last furlong.
Certainly did, and they ran 56, Steve. A very promising horse, Kensher.
Yeah, Johnny's had his few problems, but today we're lucky to get him right for the race, and you know, he really let go.
Steve, the track itself, after you coming around 56 down the outside, it's going to suit your horse in the cup?
Yeah, I'll be quite happy to keep, you know, if it keeps raining, so...
Well, last year we interviewed you, what, 5 times on the last day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Johnny. I haven't had much luck of late, but hopefully from now on I can kick on.
Well, you've broken the ice, mate, and good luck for the rest of the cameramen, especially in the cup.
Thanks, John.
Johnny Letts there with Stephen King, and he's got a great book of rides today, so he could well be a multiple winner. Kensher, horse number 10 being first, second number 6 Grand Bay, third number 3 Scarlet Crown. Now fourth was number 2 Sword, fifth in was number 5 Fence on Fire over on the outside. And the time, Pete, as we pointed out, 56.9. So that time is still very, very respectable. It's a very good time for 3-year-olds over the 1,000. But the most noticeable thing, which was probably evident even earlier on today when we had a look at the track and helped punters with, is the quickness of the outside of the track.
Yeah, 43.3 for the last 800 metres, and John Maher's down here now, and that is some sort of gallop.
Decent run, wasn't it? It's quite impressive, really.
Was he always going to come down the outside, John?
Well, I think we decided that's from where we're drawn, that'd be the best to be. I'm naturally thinking Lee's horse would come down the outside and we'd sit on him, and if we're good enough, we'd beat him. He dropped a fair bit in weight, so, you know, it was a great run, really.
Being a trainer here, do you walk the track, say, in the straight races on the morning of the race just to have a look at it?
I leave that to Stephen on the morning of the race. I think I do enough during the week.
Well, he is a promising horse. Can he go on to greater heights?
Oh, look, I'm not sure. He's had a bit of... he actually, his first race he run in, he won. He had knee surgery, which is a bit of a worry. And then he had a bit of back pain after his last run, and really full credit must go to Ross Teitzel. Ross diagnosed that they're having some back pain, and anyway, we had some laser treatments and, you know, some treatment, and, you know, he's obviously performed super. So I really give the credit to the people that look after him and Ross Teitzel.
Well, here he comes back now. Go and congratulate Stephen. John, well done.
Great day to win.
John Maher on Melbourne Cup Day. Stevie King returning on Kensher now. And Ross Teitzel is the vet who's been looking after a horse called Vintage Crop throughout the week. Numbers in the second event are 10, 6 and 3. The time 56.9 seconds. We'll take a break as Channel 10's live and exclusive coverage of Melbourne Cup Day continues.
Kensher, the winner, $11.20 for the win, $3.60 the place. Grand Bay paid $1.90, and Scarlet Crown $5.70. The Quinella paid $18.70. The trifecta $551.20, and the race-to-race double $37.20 on Sibagagi and Kensher. The margins were a long neck by 4.5 lengths. The time was 56.9. The placings were 10, 6 and 3. Fourth in was number 2, and fifth in was horse number 5. So they're the details, Timmy, after race number 2.
Thank you, Dan. Kensher getting a big pat there, as well he should. It was a good run. Kensher. Well, the next one's a bit hard to pick, but a few babies going around in the race that haven't had a start before. But there's still smiles on the faces here. Nobody cares too much about a little bit of precipitation. And somebody's obviously having a birthday too, Pete, as we cross back down to you.
Yes, well, it's a good day to have a birthday, Melbourne Cup Day. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't come to the party, but we can only hope. And Tim, after the last 2 years, sub-zeros year and vintage crops year, I'm going to make absolutely no predictions about the weather whatsoever.
Frosty the Snowman is at $3.50 for the winner, money back $1 for the place. Races very famous colours too, that of Kingston Town. Livelihood $3.41.60 the filly. Dan Trist $12.10 and $4.20. Gold Ace $5.80. And just a little bit of a tip perhaps for Gold Ace. I'm tipping that $5.80 will not last very long at all. Rye Hero $16.70. Cairo Prince $17.20. Castle Ray Run $8.70. Carl Churl Dancer $24.30 and Oasis horse number 9 at $15.10. And I really do think, Pete, perhaps a little bit of inside knowledge, that that horse of Lee Freedman's Gold Ace will shorten up dramatically on the tote.
Well, he's a beautifully bred horse, Dan. He's a half-brother to Final Card and Shaminda First, so on breeding alone, he's going to be very hard to beat. Unfortunately, Tim, the rain is increasing in intensity as we come back to you.
Thank you, Pete. Was that Tiny Tim there?
It looked like him.
Yeah, it could be his brother. Never know, never know. They all turn up here on Melbourne Cup Day. And as you look at Melbourne's stunning skyline, if you have X-ray vision and it's 80/20, you can just about see one of our major sponsors for this year's Melbourne Cup Carnival, and that, of course, is the beautiful Grand Hyatt Hotel. The history of the great race continues. The Melbourne Cup of 1994, as you look at the pictures of Melbourne Cups gone by.
English stayer Quick Ransom was one of the 4 European horses who arrived 4 weeks ago. A veteran of 47 starts for 9 wins and 17 placings, he'll have the services of experienced Brent Thompson in the Cup. Quick Ransom earned his trip to Australia with a fighting second in the Doncaster Cup over 3,600 metres 7 weeks ago.
It's Arcadian Heights, and here comes Quick Ransom, running another great, brave race in second place. But Arcadian Heights, Quick Ransom can't buy more. Arcadian Heights is the class performer. He takes the Doncaster Cup, Arcadian Heights.
Quick Ransom has won over the Cup journey, and the former Doncaster was good because winner Arcadian Heights also downed Vintage Crop in the Ascot Gold Cup in June.
Well, Quick Ransom, runner-up here, is in the Melbourne Cup. He's in the Melbourne Cup with just 8 stone 5.
After this run at Doncaster, Quick Ransom was purchased by New York-based Australian businessman Wayne Heathcote. He then proceeded to back the horse from 500 to 25 to 1. If successful, Quick Ransom will be an understatement.
Yes, and let me tell you, there is plenty of money around for Quick Ransom today. Melbourne racing journalist who took a gamble with his career by going off to Hong Kong, and then he went on to Europe. In 1992, he was voted Racing Journalist of the Year by the English Horse Race Writers Association, and this year he's back in Melbourne covering the Cup for the BBC. Jim McGrath, g'day.
How are you?
Welcome home.
It's great to be here. I must say it's a good day to be back.
Yeah, even if a little on the damp side, but we won't worry about that at all. In fact, that's going to help horses like Vintage Crop.
The Europeans will love it. I mean, this will be the pitter-patter of the raindrops will be music to their ears, I can assure you.
Just like being at home in Ireland. Jim, you played a pretty important role in the influx of the European horses coming here. Tell us what your involvement was.
The involvement was initially there was a race called the Cesarewitch Handicap at Newmarket, and Dermot Weld won it with Vintage Crop. We went down after the race. When I say we, I mean the journalists' mob went down to interview him, and he said that he felt that Australians weren't sincere. They weren't wanting to welcome these horses at all. They didn't want them to run in Australia at all. I just
there was a certain feeling of that.
Yeah,
should be said.
Yeah. He was more pointing though to the fact that the quarantine regulations were so tough that it virtually meant that the horses really couldn't feasibly stay in training and then come and have a crack at the Cup. So I had a chat to him. I also heard that the VRC were wording a pretty stern letter to Dermot about his comments which were carried in the press. I said to them I thought that he was actually sincere, that he did want to come, and it sort of grew from there. I spoke to David Burke in Hong Kong in April of '93. I said we could get them, and we did set about to do
and
that.
That, of course, led them to them going to Sandown, being quarantined
Yeah.
there, and, of course, having a training facility as well.
Yeah.
OK, quickly, on Melbourne Cup Day, and now that it is raining, do you like them? Vintage Crop and Clyde and Go?
I'd really love to sit here and say to you honestly that I thought Vintage Crop could win, and if he hadn't have had the mishap during the week, I'd be able to say that was some justification. Everybody knows everything has to go perfectly to win a big race, no matter where it is in the world, and particularly a Melbourne Cup. So I can't tip him. I think everything's gone right for Quick Ransom.
Yes.
I think he'll be the one of the Europeans to beat, although I expect Vintage Crop to be powering home over the top of them.
As we said before we came on air, if he wins it, he's a super horse.
Could well be.
Thanks for coming to join us.
Okay.
Good to talk to you. Jim McGrath, we'll take a break. Come back in a tick.
Good afternoon. We're going to bet on Starstruck, Star's Australian horse.
I think they just said they're going to bet on Starstruck, and why not? Bet on what you like on Cup Day. They've all got a chance, and everyone's still having a ball. Rain's eased off, as a matter of fact, and a few umbrellas have, in fact, gone down. Melbourne Cup itself about 2.5 hours away, and tremendous interest, of course, this year with the European horses, and River Verdant joining us from Hong Kong as well, and some pretty fascinating umbrellas. Now, Smart.
Yes, Exclusive Halo is a terrific horse. He really wasn't much of a match for him there, but all the same, he's still left there with the chance today. He's pretty honest, and he looks nice and relaxed here in the mounting yard.
Great name, Frosty the Snowman. Number 2's Livelihood, and she is a very powerful looking filly. This one has only had the one start at Morfordville and absolutely strolled him.
Yes, she began very fast on that occasion. She sat outside the leader and went away to win by 4.5 lengths, to be ridden by Greg Hall, and we were doing number 2, sorry.
In fact, Shane Dye.
Shane Dye, I'm sorry. To be ridden by Shane Dye. She's a nice big filly, this one. She's certainly there with an each-way chance.
Number 3 is Dan Triss. Greg Hall is the rider there, and he's got a green cap on to distinguish the colours from Frosty the Snowman, owned in the same interest as that horse by Mr. and Mrs. David Haynes, and trained by Bart Cummings at Flemington. He's a pretty big barreled sort of customer, this fellow.
Yes, he is, and he was beautifully bred, this fellow, by Danehill out of Tristram Princess. This one trained by Bart Cummings, to be ridden by Greg Hall, and I think you have to respect that fact because he is trained here at Flemington, and a lot of these young horses go very well that are trained on the track.
Lee Friedman's runner is number 4, Gold Ace, ridden by Damien Oliver, having its first start. Is a half-brother to Final Card and Shaminda Furgin.
Yes, beautifully bred, and he's bred to go very fast. I think the mounting yard here it does look pretty fit, and I think the betting, when we go back to Terry, he might give us a guide on the betting on this horse.
Another first starter, number 5, Rye Hero, which is by Clay Hero, trained by John Marr, ridden by Stephen King, and the Clay Heroes normally go pretty quickly.
Yes, you can see him on the screen there. He does look particularly fit, this fellow. Another one that you're going to have a look at the betting in the betting ring, and we haven't seen him in the trials, but you know he looks terrific.
Cairo Prince looked pretty well on the mounting yard, number 6, to be ridden by Patrick Payne, but would need to improve on its only start so far at Caulfield.
Yes, he didn't really do enough there. He has got the blinkers on first time, so that may make a difference, but he will have to lift after his last start at Caulfield.
Number 7 is Castlereagh Run, to be ridden by Darren Beedman, and this one trained at Warrnambool, trotted in at its first start at Bendigo, and then was slowly out and ran on well at Caulfield.
Yes, it was a terrific win there at Bendigo, and on its Caulfield run, well, you've probably got to leave her in there with an each-way chance because she has got the experience on her side.
8 Cultural Dancer, to be ridden by Danny Nicolik, trained by Rick Hall Lacey at Epsom, and was beaten a fair way by Castlereagh Run at its only start at Bendigo.
Yes, on that form, you really couldn't put her in front of her.
And John Wheeler trains number 9, Oasis, with Larry Cassidy aboard, also having its first start.
Looks pretty well, this horse. Another one that when we go out to Terry, have a look at the betting on this horse, trained by John Wheeler. He often brings over a very good horse.
I know you're keen about Gold Ace, Jen. On appearances, what else took your fancy?
Well, I thought number 2, Livelihood, looked pretty good. At Morfordville, her win there was very impressive, but I am going for number 4, Gold Ace, to beat number 2, Livelihood, and for third I've put in Rye Hero.
All right, Jenny Chapman going for 3 in a row, and I'm going for Livelihood, trained by David Hayes here in the third event. Now they're going to the stalls for the running of race number 3, Anderson Consulting Stakes. They'll run over the 1,000 metres here. And let's see what the tote punters have made of it. Obviously, someone's tipped in some money into the bookmakers' bags. What's happening here in the third, Dan?
Frosty the Snowman, Peter, $4.70 it's showing for the win. Livelihood, $3 even. Dan Trist, $13. Gold Ace at $3.90. Rye Hero, $17.70. Cairo Prince, $21.90. Castle Ray Run, $9.50. Cultural Dancer, $30.30. And Oasis is showing $15.40 for the win, almost $500,000 in the win pool. So at the moment, the tote says Livelihood just ahead of